half an hour from now on. Next, we have an exciting panel, and I hope all our panelists are here. So I would like to introduce the two moderators, first of all. So the first panel is on global branding, from traditional to digital economy, to be moderated by Dr. Kat Schwaig, Dean of Coast College of Business, Dino's eminent scholar, and Professor of Information Systems of Kennesaw State University. The co-moderator is Ms. Marcy Sperry, Trademark and IP Attorney of Counsel from the Sladkus Law Group. And I will just give you a brief bio of the two moderators, and the two moderators will introduce the four speakers. Kat Schwaig is the Dean and Dino's eminent scholar and Chair of Entrepreneurial Management and Professor of Information Systems in the Michael Coase College of Business at KSU. Dr. Schwaig joined the faculty at KSU in 2002, bringing more than 20 years of teaching and professional experience. She's an authority on the topic of information privacy and policy formulation. Her research has been published in some of the leading journals in the information systems field, including Information Systems Research, Communications of ACM, Journal of Management Information Systems. Currently, she serves on the editorial board of International Journal of Information Security and Privacy. Dr. Schwaig is the recipient of the Oscar Burnett Award for Distinguished Achievement in Business from the Morris Brown College Foundation and COP Executive Women's Glass Ceiling Award. The co-moderator, Ms. Marcy Sperry, is an experienced intellectual property attorney who focuses her practice on trademark prosecution, enforcement, and litigation. She has extensive experience protecting domestic and international trademark.
My name is Marcy Sperry, and I'm honored to serve as a co-moderator on today's global branding panel. This topic is one that's near and dear to my heart because as an intellectual property attorney, I help my clients protect their brands on a daily basis. So what is a brand? I think we need to first define what it is. It is also known as a trademark, and it serves to distinguish a company's products and services from their competitors. It also signifies the quality and the source of those products and services. And in today's digital economy, companies live and die by their brands. So it's essential to not only select a brand that resonates well with consumers, but that's also legally protectable. And there's three main components to the protection of a brand or trademark. There's the clearance stage, the registration, and the enforcement. But first, I do want to back up and define a little bit more specifically what a trademark is. It can be a name, such as Coca-Cola. It can be a logo, like the famous McDonald's arches. It can also be a tagline, such as Nike's "Just Do It." It can even be a sound, if you think about the MGM famous roar before a movie. That's a protected trademark. It can also be a color, such as UPS brown that you see on their delivery trucks. Getting back to the protection legally of a trademark, first you need to do clearance. You need to make sure that you're not selecting someone else's trademark. Part of your due diligence as a trademark attorney, we do a trademark search to make sure that the mark is available for your use and registration. Once you determine that the mark is available, it's important to register your trademark in the relevant trademark office in which countries you're using the mark. Trademark rights are nation-specific, so you need to make sure that you understand the laws of each country. In most Asian countries, trademark rights are based on who files the trademark application first. It's essentially a race to the trademark office. However, in the US, your rights are based on use and commerce. So whoever uses the mark first has superior rights in that mark. Registration is also critical, though, to strengthening your rights in the US in your trademark. A registration will entitle you to a number of evidentiary presumptions of validity, ownership, and the exclusive right to use the mark. Most importantly, a federal registration in the U.S. will give you nationwide rights in that mark, regardless of whether you're using it in every state. It also serves as an important deterrent factor to potential infringers and allows you to use the R in the circle after your trademark. And then finally, enforcement is an important aspect of protecting your trademark rights. You have a duty as a trademark owner or a brand owner to police your trademark and make sure that other companies are not infringing on your rights. And we at the Sladkus Law Group assist our clients with that by sending cease and desist letters, filing oppositions with trademark offices throughout the world or in the US against applications for confusingly similar or infringing marks. Or in some cases, when necessary, we have to file a complaint and actually litigate in federal court. Today's panel is going to discuss what are the considerations for selecting a strong brand that resonates with consumers and that consumers can trust. Also, what messages does your brand convey to consumers? And finally, how is the digital economy transforming branding? I'd like to turn this over to my esteemed co-moderator, Dr. Schwaig. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Marcy, and it's a pleasure to be here this morning. The Coles College loves to participate in this event. Number one reason I like this event is because it's interdisciplinary, and I always like to say when we're on a university campus and we want to solve solutions and bring education and learning to bear on those when we want to solve problems and bring education to bear on those solutions, we need to do it in an interdisciplinary way, and this program exhibits that characteristic so well. So it's a pleasure to be here today. I get to introduce each of our panelists today, and it's my pleasure to do so. Each panelist will give remarks, and some of them have a PowerPoint presentation that they will explain. And then after all four presenters, we will have time for Q&A. So our first presenter today is Brian F. Bieron. Brian is the Executive Director of eBay Public Policy Lab, an internal eBay public policy think tank focused on global public policy issues raised by the evolution of technology-enabled open, global, and inclusive commerce. Prior to establishing the lab, Bieron led eBay's U.S. lobbying team for 8 years, mobilizing the company and its community of users on issues including cross-border sales tax collection, net neutrality, intermediary liability, and global trade policies impacting small businesses. Before joining eBay, Bieron spent 3.5 years as a director at Clark & Weinstock, one of Washington's leading bipartisan lobbying and consulting firms, and 12 years as a congressional staff person. Please welcome Brian Bieron.
So thank you, everyone. In particular, thank you, Dr. Gao, Kennesaw State, and all the organizers and fellow panelists. I want to say that while I do have a PowerPoint deck, really, please don't even try to read the slides. They're more like word pictures. So they're there to show you that there are words behind what I'm saying, and there's also actually a really nice report that we have online that I have a link to at the end. I hope that the deck can be circulated to everybody who participates in the conference. But then also our report is good bedtime reading when you're having a hard time getting to sleep. So we've already heard a lot this morning about the power of networks, and in particular human networks, and as well as platforms, as Dr. Gao describes this, in fact, the symposium as a platform. I'm here to also talk about networks and platforms. They are the digital kind, but I want to make sure it's clear that at the end of the day, it's not a competition between technology, it's not a competition between digital and human. In fact, it's the reality in the 21st century that technology is empowering people. And so they work together. And the story that I'm going to really touch on at a high level is about how platforms and technology are enabling an entire new class, an immense number of people globally, but also in the Asia-Pacific region, to engage in cross-border trade. In many ways, I kind of like to go later in a panel because usually the eBay story is, and now for something completely different, in the sense that this is not, in general, about really large businesses engaging in trade, because that's been happening for pretty much as long as we've had globalization. This is about really tiny enterprises in most cases who are trading in a way that is simply never happened before. So, I apologize for being rushed. I did a 15-minute version of this earlier this week, and I kind of used the same deck, so I'm going to rush through. We put out a report from the eBay Public Policy Lab back in January where we looked at 18 different countries for the purposes of this symposium today: China, Indonesia, India, Korea, Thailand, the United States. I know we have one of the panelists from Canada. We're all part of this analysis. We were looking at what we call eBay commercial sellers. This is anybody who uses the eBay platform globally who sells at least $10,000 a year. We looked at their trade activity in 4 in particular data points and 4 growth performance data points. And I think very relevant from the perspective of talking about inclusive growth, we intentionally selected 9 countries that were advanced economies as categorized by the IMF and 9 who are emerging economies. The trade on a platform like eBay, and this is not just an eBay story in the sense that this is a platform model. Other platforms participate in the model, is based on access actually to 3 kinds of platforms. One is the internet. The second is platform services. eBay, an example of a commerce platform. Platform payment services are critically important to this. Search platforms, social platforms. But the key is that they are global platforms, which is what so dramatically changes the ability of small enterprises, platform participants, to access global customers. And then lastly, logistics platforms. At the end of the day, on eBay, the trade is essentially package level global trade. Now, I can say that probably the FTC would be concerned if I said something like, if you use this platform model, you will be guaranteed to export. Because it's not actually guaranteed. You can't be guaranteed to export. But I can say that our data shows that nearly every commercial seller, no matter where they access the platforms, if they use the platforms and sell just $10,000, they, in almost every case, export. And the export numbers are pretty remarkable. So here's my first, again, please don't even think about trying to look at all those. But what we have there are 4 trade data points. One is the share of these eBay-enabled small businesses who are exporting. That's number 1. The second is the share of the eBay-enabled small businesses who reach 10 or more countries. The third is the average number of the foreign markets that they reach. And the fourth is a creative stat that I came up with, which was how many reach 4 or more continents? Because I was trying to explain, no, really, these are global traders. So probably the most important point is that of the 6 countries that we included here, the US, China, Korea, Indonesia, India, and Thailand, the lowest percentage is India. 95% of the commercial sellers in India export. The US, it's 97. The 4 other Asian countries, it's 100%. These numbers, these 95% or greater export activity numbers, are essentially global. And the little gray, the small gray bars are what the traditional businesses actually export. So in the US, 4% of enterprises export. On eBay in the US, it's 97%. I'll say that the Thai number of 48%, I don't think they're counting the same kind of businesses we're counting. Because the eBay-enabled enterprises, the majority of them are micro businesses. We're talking about 10-person and smaller micro businesses. So this is, if there's one takeaway, this would be the takeaway. Using the platforms, small and micro enterprises gain an ability to export that is simply unprecedented. And this is a new, inclusive kind of exporting. By inclusive, the 2 factors that we sort of use that term in connection to: 1, small versus traditional large enterprises being global, and the second is the fact that these numbers across the board look very similar when you're talking about emerging economies as advanced economies. We then looked at, as I said, for growth statistics. In most cases, and this is not all cases, but in most cases, the performance of the eBay-enabled small businesses exceeded national averages for growth in the number of firms, growth in the sales of the firms. We also looked at newcomers being a very important growth statistic. And then lastly, we did look at growth rates of a particular subcategory that I won't get into in such a short presentation, but our full report explains what we mean by continuous commercial sellers. To wrap up the findings real quickly, one, nearly all firms of all sizes that use these platforms export. Number two, the phenomenon is evident at very similar rates, whether you're looking at advanced or emerging economies. And then lastly, this is an inclusive growth model that I think from the perspective of changing the dynamic about global trade and how it's perceived, this is a kind of trade that is including those who traditionally left behind because of basically the scale needed to engage in traditional exporting. That's where it's, again, even the web link has too many characters in it for you all to take the notes, and so I'm going to depend on Dr. Gao to make sure that everybody has this sent to them. So if nothing else, you can click on that link. But I can say that, to go back to the very first point, networks do matter. Human networks, digital networks are really changing the opportunities that people have to engage in commerce. Thanks.
Is Norikazu Mori, who serves as the Chief Executive Director of the Atlanta office of the Japan External Trade Organization. Mr. Mori joined the organization in 1990. He previously worked in the Import Promotion Division, Planning Division, in the JETRO Chicago office, and Industrial Engineering and Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries Division. Prior posts included Assistant Director of the office in Cairo, Egypt, Team Leader for Expo 2010 in Shanghai, and served as the Senior Manager of Business Development in North America. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Mori.
How many of you knows the JETROs? Oh, thank you. We are Japanese governmental organization, a non-profit that is promote the both way, the trade and investment promotion, with the support from the local government, such as the state office or like business development agencies. We are office open since 1985, our Atlanta office in downtown. We have 76 offices globally, and in 55 countries. Probably JETRO is, as some of you know, as the kind of branding the JETRO is, among the business community. Then since 10 years ago, we used to have the many home pages, each countries, but we unified. Then we providing good quality business information to the business communities. Then not only the home page, but also we have many media. We using it as a business tools, like a news letters or news kind of papers among by electronically, and also recently it used to be kind of holding the seminars, traditional way to promote the business, and also attending the trade show. But recently we're considering they are using the webinar function through the net, then because United States is very huge, so even Japanese company spread it, located in even kind of rural area. So some cases very difficult to reach the business information to the each business people. So we're thinking that we're gonna start using the webinar for the our business tools. In the 70s and the 80s, it used to be the Japanese company known as the Made in USA is kind of the branding. Is everybody think for example, like in automotives, is inexpensive and no fault. Then products from Sony is very innovative is very popular. But at some point, the Japanese yen becomes stronger. Then many companies need to be located abroad, not only Japan. So then we manufacturing and supplying at the best location, globally. Then we have to always listen to the consumers. As you see the slide, I put it a little bit some statistics in the because Southeast area we cover the 4 states, major 4 states. Then as you see, since about the 70s, like YKK or Muratas, start operating their facility, the factories here. Then at this moment, we have about 1,200 corporates and creating the 90,000 jobs in the Southeast. Company making a good profit. I think more than 80% of the companies, gaining the profit according to the our survey last year. Then of course, as the TPP is kind of a big game changer. There are many companies still, looking for the investment location for the United States. Then probably the more companies will come in here. So we decided to support those companies, business in the United States. At the beginnings, those corporates has many Japanese, employee even in operation in here locally. But recently, most like YKK or Murata's presidents are American, and then also most of the employees are American locally, hiring, but not so many Japanese here anymore. But the most issue that they're facing is like, as you see the chart, that's according to the survey we done in last year. The hiring the local, high engineer that is a very important issues for their maintain the operations. Mainly the Japanese manufacturers issue, but as a government we are also promoting the we call it the Cool Japan's initiatives. Then as you see the panels, we promote not only the products like automotives, but we are also promoting like a contents, like someone mentioned that Japanese anime is very well known in the world, and also like a fashions or Japanese lifestyles, and also like a local some specialized products, and also like inbound tourism also. And as I coordinators mentioned, I was in 2010. I was responsible for the Shanghai Expo of the Japanese government, pavilions. Then I promoted, not only such an anime, but also like I promoted the Japanese, food is getting popular in many cities. Then even in Atlanta. Then this slide tell you. Every year we are organizing the, not me, but Japanese chambers, and also Japan American Society holds the Japan Fest. It's mostly we held in sometimes 2 days in September. Then last year we had 20,000 people participate. It's kind of big event. Then we showing the kind of introducing the Cool Japan things in that event. So this year particularly we do more Cool Japan things so if you have a chance, please stop by. And at last, we are kind of business promotion organization. So mostly we trying to find the company who are interested with doing the business with Japan. So if you know somebody, please introduce me at the later, and please talk to the JETRO Atlanta first. But thank you very much.